Hi, good morning. My name's Julie. My second recipe of the morning, so I'm bombing along this morning. I thought I'd show you how to make Welsh cakes. These are slightly different to the traditional ones, only in the fact that we're pretty much vegetarian, so I don't use lard in my Welsh cakes. Some people do. So in front of me now, I've got self-raising flour. I've seen it in some recipes plain, but I've always been taught self-raising flour. So I've got 8 ounces of that, which is 225 grams. To this now, I've added my baking powder because, as I said, we're in France and we don't get self-raising, or I haven't found it yet anyway. And into this now, I'm going to put a decent teaspoon of mixed spice. Again, something I've not found over here. So this gets imported for me from kind relatives. So into that, I'm going to put the mixed spice. Also, the other ingredients I need is currants, actually, but again, I can't get currants, so I've got sultanas here, and you need about 50 grams, about 2 ounces, something like that, of currants. Also into this as well, I'm going to put caster sugar, and that's about 3.5 ounces, which is about 85 grams of caster sugar. The other things that go into this is I'm using a margarine. You could use a mixture of half margarine or butter, half lard if you're not vegetarian, or you can obviously sometimes pick up a vegetarian substitute, which I can't find here. So I'm going to use margarine to that. And then lastly, it takes 1 egg and maybe just a little splash of milk. Now it's really simple. The things with Welsh cakes is that it doesn't go in the oven. It's a griddle cake, which means you either need a flat griddle, which I've got heating up at the moment, which I'll show you in a moment. It needs to be of a good temperature, and that's probably the biggest thing, otherwise it sticks everywhere and it's an absolute nightmare to flip them over. So I've had that heating quite a while now. Mine's made of cast iron. I have made them in a very heavy frying pan before now, because you need to be able to turn them over, as I say, like a griddle cake. So what I'm going to do first is mix all of these ingredients while that's still heating. In here then I've got the flour, the baking agent, and also the mixed spice. So I'm just going to mix all that together. It smells lovely. I love mixed spice. So there we go, that's the first thing. Into this now I'm going to add the butter or the margarine, whichever fat you're using. It's very similar to making things like pastry or scones. You're going to rub this in, so I'm afraid it's messy fingers again, okay? So here we go. Obviously I've washed them first. In here now, then I'm just going to rub them in, and again you want a light consistency, so I'm just going to bring the flour up as I'm going along. Scones, Welsh cakes, I've grown up with all my life, having been born in Wales, and they've become a favourite of our neighbours here in France as well, of which we've had to get them mixed spice too. So it doesn't taste quite the same with things like just cinnamon in. So I'm just going to mix this together now. It's more, the ratio for a Welsh cake is much similar to making pastry, so it's half fat to the flour. I'm just going to make 8 ounces today. Again, I normally make quite a big bunch of these because our family seems to go through them so quickly. Now, we're almost there. I'm going to show you what that looks like. Again, it's like really breadcrumbs, the consistency of that. Again, don't over mix to the extent where it all starts glooping together. Here we go. The milk added really depends how big your egg is, really, so we'll take a look at that now. You can always add a little bit more flour if you need to. Never panic with cooking, just there's always a solution to something. Here we go. I'm just going to show you what that looks like. And if you can see, I'll just move that bowl out of the way, sorry. It's like a breadcrumb consistency. So I've rubbed those in. To that now I'm going to add the sugar, which is the caster sugar. Again, you just lightly tossing that in, making sure there's no lumps left in it, which I've got here. So I'm just going to get rid of those lumps in a moment. There we go. Now into that also, now I'm going to add the sultanas in this case. I think the original one is currants. I have not found currants in France yet. They're probably somewhere, but I just haven't found them. So here we go. I'm just going to separate some of the currants. They're always in clumps, aren't they? So here we go. Get rid of those. Now into this now, we're pretty much done actually. I'm just going to add an egg, and then we'll see what the consistency is like. So at the moment you can see where I'm coming from. This is just all sort of mixed in together. I've got milk here as well, just in case. And you're going to need a floured surface to roll these onto. And yes, I do use a rolling pin for this one. It's a bit too soft really to use my hands on this one. Here we go. I've just got one egg. I'm just going to pop that in. These are nice and fresh. They come from my neighbour this morning. So they've got chickens down the end of our road, which is fab. So I'm just going to pop that egg in and mix the whole thing together. Again, you're not over mixing, you're just bringing the whole mixture together, if you can see what I'm doing. So I'll show you what the consistency looks like now. I'm just going to put the egg in first because I don't want to add too much milk and then it's really sticky, you know, and it gets harder and harder to roll then. The one good thing I think with Welsh cakes is that when you're doing them, it's not like pastry where, you know, you get so many rollings out of it and then if you do any more, it becomes like a brick. You can re-roll Welsh cakes and actually use up the whole of the mixture, which is fab. So here we go. I don't think I'm going to need any milking with this one because that egg is pretty much bringing the whole thing into a soft dough, which is great. So no milk today. Again, as I say, it depends on the size of your egg really. I'm going to show you this now, I'll show you what it looks like. The smell of mixed spice is lovely. You can, you know, the scent is gorgeous. As you're working the dough, you can just smell it. Here we go. Now that's just a soft, as you can see, it's a soft dough. And I'm just going to put that now onto a baking sheet here. Well, not baking sheet, sorry, rolling area. Put some flour. You do need to put a bit of flour in here though, because otherwise it will become so sticky. I'm just going to move the camera back a little bit because I don't think you can see that from where you are. There we go. Hang on a second. That's the only thing about using an iPad. They're great, but it's impossible to see anything really. I've just got a baking sheet here at the moment and I'm just putting some flour on it. What I'll do is I'll roll it out to the thickness that I do them and then I'll show you what that looks like. So again, it's easier, I find, to make a circle with it, and then obviously you're cutting circles out of it, so you get more out of it straight away. So I'm just going to get a rolling pin. Again, put a little bit of flour on the rolling pin, otherwise it sticks crazy. So here we go. Put a bit of flour on that one. I'm just going to rub that on, and then I'm just really going to gently roll. I'm not going to just show you now, I'm not going to press that down too hard. I'm just going to gently keep turning it keeping that circle, and just very softly. I'm going to show you how thick I'm going to do that now. There we go. Again, if it becomes too sticky, put a bit more flour on it. There we go. Almost there, almost ready for cooking. The other thing that's nice with Welsh cakes is you can either have them plain, cooked plain, and then you leave them like that and put some butter on. A lot of people I know toss them into a caster sugar at the end of the cooking, and it just sort of sticks onto the warm Welsh cake, and then people eat them just like that as well. So I'm just going to get out another cutter, and I'm going to show you what this looks like. Sorry, it's the impracticalities of having, I'm going to make quite big ones today. Normally it's a bit smaller than that, I'm just going to show you. Here's the consistency, and as you can see, it's not as thin as pastry, definitely not, but not as thick as a Welsh cake. So I'm just going to cut these. So there we go, there's the first one. Okay, I'm just going to keep cutting. I think the trick with these is that you can still, if you've got loads to cook, which sometimes I do, at least you can still be cooking them slowly on the griddle, as long as you can keep an eye in two places while you're cutting and making extra. There we go. I'm just going to cut these out now. When you cook a Welsh cake, it's very tempting to keep flipping it over. I've seen places with say 3 or 4 minutes cooking on each side. You can normally tell with a Welsh cake how it's getting on, because the top part of the Welsh cake seems to change consistency when you're looking at it. It looks risen and it looks slightly shiny, and you know then it's pretty much ready to turn over. So I'm just going to cut these. Now out of that mixture there, I've ended up with 8, maybe about 10, 11 Welsh cakes, but then I've made them slightly larger than I normally would. Just going to mix that in again. As I said, if you've got any left on the dough, you can reshape it, so no problem at all. Just going to cut those and I'll show you what they look like. As I said, this is home cooking. It's not. I'm not professional, and it's interesting with an iPad trying to get all the areas that that you want to be shown. So I'm just going to. Basically, the last one is just going to be whatever mixture leaves. So out of this one, I've had 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, about 12 Welsh cakes out of 8 ounces of flour for this size cutter. So I'm just going to show you what that looks like so you can see. I'm just ready to cut now. These are all ready to cook on the top. I'm just going to show you what they look like in a moment as they're cooking. Okay. Hi, I just want to show you as they're cooking. I've got some on here now. This is a griddle. Mine is a cast iron one that I picked up before. I've turned this one over. I find a palette knife actually easier. This one here, you can see it's almost ready to turn now. It sort of changes consistency on the top actually, and it becomes, I'm just going to flip that now. There we go, that's almost there. So you can see the difference in the consistency as it's cooking. And once I've finished all of those, I'll show you what they look like. Okay. I just wanted to give you a little tip actually as I'm cooking, which is something I've thought of really. When you touch, you can start to see when the centre of the cake is actually cooked. If I press in that one, you can see it's sort of firm now. And this one, which has been in last time, it's a bit squidgy coming out the outside edge here. So that means to me that's not quite cooked inside yet. If you're putting something in the middle of a griddle, please be wary. It cooks so much quicker. It's great for just sort of finishing off the colour, but I wouldn't leave it there too long. Okay. There you go, there's most of them. I'm just finishing off cooking the others. I've tossed them in a little bit of caster sugar. What I find, just one little tip, when you're cooking on a griddle or a frying pan, initially I put just a little smear of some sort of fat butter or something on the pan just to stop it from sticking. After the first batch is on there, I never seem to need to add more grease to the pan, so I'm not actually frying them in it. It's just really to start the non-stick process off when you're initially starting it all. But good luck, and hope you enjoy them. Okay, thanks. Bye.